Hiya friends. I wanted to make a quick video for you to explain a little bit how you go about integrating something from an outside source into your paper. I know if you've never done it before, it can be a little bit bewildering and it's like, what? I have opened a page here to the Erickson Library, so the college's library page, where I can just do a search using this one search bar. And I'm pretending that the topic for my cause effect paper, my trend, is mom shaming on social media. So there's always been mom shaming. That's not a new and different trend. Um, but now we have social media, which kind of gives everyone a place to get particularly nasty and awful about it. So my trend for my paper, my hypothetical paper, is going to be mom shaming on social media. So then I can do a search and I'm going to get a list of a lot of hits. Some of them actually don't have anything to do with my topic. Um, but I can see there are a few things, like there's one here, the age-old issue of mom shaming is highlighted in the new April edition of Elle Magazine CBS. This is actually like a news story that's saying that Elle Magazine has this article. There's some things in that story, I clicked on it, that I could use if I wanted to, but then I kind of kept looking and I was like, oh, hey, wait a minute. Pink will no longer post photos of her kids after social media shaming. I cried so hard. And I'm thinking, I know in my paper I want to have specific examples, and like I could use the example of pink, right? So I went ahead and took a look at this. It says it's available online, but I also wanted to see if I could just find it instead of being externally located. I wanted to see if I could find it within the database. And so I was like, oh, I can access the content in ProQuest. There's no real reason, to be honest. I mean, I could look for it online, but as long as I'm in the databases, I'm going to feel really good and scholarly and like a good student if I just stay in the databases and read it on ProQuest. So I click on access it in ProQuest. And okay, let me pull my visual here for y'all. Okay, so you can see it's actually just a really short article and I have the full text for it. It appeared in USA Today. I can see that the author was Rasha Ali and it tells me it was published 22nd of April 2019. Okay, so when I read it, I can see it's pretty short, but basically, Pink and her family went on vacation. She posted some pictures, and one of them, her 2-year-old or whatever, was not wearing a diaper, and the internet lost its freaking mind. So anyhow, she like was a little bit traumatized from that. And I mean, she says things like, I cried so hard after that because I like to share my family. It's my proudest moment. I'm prouder of my kids than anything I've done in my whole life. And I just won't share them anymore. I won't do it. I'm not posting pictures of them anymore. So when I read this over, I was like, oh, I have, there's a few things that I could use from this. But basically, if I'm doing a cause effect paper, what if one of my effects is an effect of mom shaming on the internet is that a lot of moms or a lot of parents uh, decide that they are going to be more guarded in their use of social media. They're going to protect themselves. And so I have this article here. And here, let me pull it up a little bit further. There we go. Now I'm going to flip into my hypothetical paper, this paragraph that I might write where I use something. So I want you to see how I've got the article. Now, how am I going to take something from that article and put it into my paper in a way that is correct? Okay, so I think we can pretty much see it here. Let's pull that down a little bit. Okay. So I have, I'm setting this up as a body paragraph and I'm giving you a topic sentence. I'm trying to open with a little transition, like this is not my first effect, maybe it's my second or my third effect. And you will see in this paragraph that I have chosen to include a quotation from that article, that pink article. And so I want to kind of have you see how I've integrated it into the paragraph and how I make sure I'm citing it correctly. Okay, so my topic sentence, excuse the ding ding there, got a notification from my best friend in Chicago. She has things to tell me. Anyhow, so the topic sentence, another effect of mom shaming is that the affected mothers become more guarded in their use of social media. So topic sentence, that's my third effect or second effect, whatever. After feeling the pain of being attacked for their choices, some parents detach entirely from platforms like Facebook and Instagram, while others keep their accounts active, but make a conscious decision not to post anything related to their children. Pop star Pink, for example, received a deluge of negative comments after posting a photo of her son not wearing a diaper while the family was on vacation. As a result, she felt harassed and defensive, which ultimately led her led to her decision. That would be a place to make a typo, John. I mean, I've got a typo. I've got to fix that. See how reading aloud shows you stuff you've missed? All right. So it led her to make a decision to stop posting pictures of her children altogether. So now I want you to notice in this next sentence, I am leading into the quotation. I do not just plop the quotation from Pink into my paragraph to stand by itself. Nay, my friends, nay. I integrate it into one of my own sentences. I give it a lead in. So, reflecting on this choice and the need to protect herself and her kids, she announced in an article in USA Today, comma, quotation marks, and then I have those 3 dots there, those ellipses, to indicate that some words from that sentence have been left out. So I just chose to use a part of that sentence, not the full thing, and I'm indicating the omitted words with an ellipsis, dot, 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 okay? So I just won't share them anymore. I won't do it. I'm not posting pictures of them anymore. End quote, because that's the end of the words that I took that came right out of her mouth. Then you'll notice I have something here. It's called a parenthetical citation. And so there's a parentheses, and then I'm giving you the last name of the author of that article, end parentheses, and after that is the closing period. Okay? A lot of students I notice like to put the period before the parenthetical citation. It comes after, okay? So it closes off the full sentence. Now, if you were using a quote or some information from a source and you gave the author's name right here, but also in your particular source, there's a page number provided, you also would need to provide the page number. So I didn't have one for the source I found, but let's say it was on page 53 or whatever. I would have Ali space 53. Don't need a comma in there. I don't need the word page. I don't need PG period. In MLA format, all you do is put the author's last name, a space, and the page number, if there is one. Very often, there isn't one. Another option is I could have mentioned the name of the author in my lead-in. She announced to USA Today writer Rasha Ali, comma, I just won't share them anymore. I won't do it. I'm not posting pictures of them anymore. End the quotations. And if I had done that, if I'd used the author's name within my sentence, I actually wouldn't need this parenthetical citation, because I would have made it clear to my readers who wrote that article. I tossed in the name of the publication too. I mean, it's better to oversight and give more information about where you found something than to undercite, okay? So I give my quote there. And then when you've given a quote or any information from a source, you don't just kind of like, okay, I gave it a lead in, here's my quote, and then move on. You want to linger for a moment and kind of apply and interpret the quote to the argument that you're making or to the point that you're making. So I'm trying to like take a sec here to follow that up. So if a celebrity, someone who has a supposedly easy life, is rattled by the mom shaming she experienced on social media, clearly these public pylons would be even more destructive to regular people who don't enjoy the buffers of having wealth and a staff. Thus, so here comes my concluding sentence, because we always do that at the end of a body paragraph, concluding sentence. Thus, thousands of women have had to make the difficult decision to limit their use of social media, lest they lose their ability to parent with confidence. So there's like self-preservation, right? So topic sentence with a transition, concluding sentence. We always do that. By now, we don't even think about that. It's natural. But when you are working in a quote from your source, make sure that you integrate it into a sentence that you have written. And make sure that you give a citation if it's not clear who the author is or if there's a page number. Use that parenthetical citation. The closing period comes after the citation, not before it. Your other option, of course, is maybe you don't want to use a direct quote. Really, you only need to use a direct quote if you feel that the wording is particularly good or if there's some emotional feel to it that you don't want to lose. So you really want to preserve the exact words. But you have another option. You could paraphrase information from your outside source. And if you do that, you're not quoting, you're not taking things word for word. You're simply taking an idea you found in your source. And sometimes maybe, there's like a whole paragraph and you're like, oh, I want all this stuff, but I don't want to put a quote in my paper that's massive. So what you can do is you can paraphrase. So you would just read over the information a few times and you go, okay, I understand it, I got it. And then don't even look at it when you're writing your paraphrase. And then you would just write in your own words the idea or the concept that you want to convey. So you still have to give credit to the source because it's not your thinking, but you get to kind of like condense it a little or like put your own, you get to like put it into your own words and fit it into the paragraph in a way that's not just like word for word taken from the source. So you have a choice of quoting or paraphrasing. And if you're kind of like, you know what, I've never done any of this stuff at all, I would suggest what for this little test run on using an outside source, try a quote. You know, because it's really hard. Very rarely, to be honest, do I see students perfectly handle a quotation. So it's something to practice and get good at. But if you've done some research writing in your past and you're like, nah, I think I have a handle on this, you could totally paraphrase. I mean, I'm not forbidding the paraphrase, but I'm just saying that, like, how about if you just see if you can handle a quote right? And then, you know, in the future, like if you take Comp 2, then you can think about things like paraphrasing, okay? So the other thing I want to make sure you know is at the end of your entire paper, you should have a works cited or a works cited. So works cited means that there will be more than one source listed on it. A work cited means you just have one source. So actually, in this case, I do only have one. I could end up looking for another article. I mean, you could use 1 to 2 outside sources for this paper. So I could look for another article and then I would put it, you know, I'd also cite it and it would be a works cited. Please notice it's not a works cited. I see that a lot too. And all right, I'm going to take you back here for a sec to the database article. All right, here, let me move. There we go. So you do have this option in the database. See this little cite button? You can click cite. And if I do that, it generates, here it's using MLA 7. Ideally, what we would like is, they've even got 8. We're technically at MLA 9 these days. So you can go ahead and you can just copy that little entry that it gives to you right there. So I'm going to click my copy button, okay? And then I'm going to go back into my paper. Here we go. We're going back into my paper. And what I did is, here, I'll take it. Let me take it out. Un momento. Por favor. Okay, so I took out that entry I had in there because I want to show you that I can, you know, I can go ahead and paste. Let me just Control V it here. Okay, so I don't need them telling me works cited. I already typed my own, and I like a little space between the works cited and this entry. So things you notice, well, the font is different. So you'd want to change the font so that it matches what you've already used in the text of your paper. And in this case, I've been using good old faithful Tahoma, and to make it big for y'all, I was using 14-point font. So I just changed the font so it matches. We want it to match. And the other thing that I did was I double spaced it because what was given to me was not double spaced. So you would want to like highlight the, you know, when you copy and paste it into your paper, highlight it, and then you'd want to go up to your spacing and do double spacing. So even though the database has that nice cite button, it gives you the citation pretty well formatted for you, there's still stuff you have to tweak a little bit. This spacing on the left-hand kind of margin, you see how it's out here for Ali Rasha, and then it's indented the rest. That's called a hanging indent, and that's exactly how it should be on a works cited page. So that's another nice thing that the cite button does for you. It gives it to you with the hanging indent, so you don't have to faxel around and figure out how to do that. I can also tell you that just eyeballing this, because I'm kind of a little persnickety person, I can tell you that the site should have capitalized the word no. Major words in a title should be capitalized. What should not be capitalized? Prepositions, pretty much. So like the word of is a preposition, doesn't need capitalization, but everything else should be capitalized. So sometimes you have to catch those little things. And you'll notice too that like USA Today is in fact italicized because it's the name of a publication, but the name of the article has quotation marks around it. It tells where, you know, it's from ProQuest. It gives you kind of the URL thing here. So it's really nice if you can use the cite button, but if not, if you're, maybe you end up going, I cannot find anything in the databases and I am going to find my own thing through Google Scholar or just looking online, try and find a reputable source. If you have to create your own citation, it's totally doable. You could look up the guidelines for MLA 8, MLA 9. Or you could go to a website that is a citation generator site, like EasyBib, Scribr. I mean, you could just type in MLA citation generator. But basically, if you have like a URL, you can copy and paste it into that citation generator site, and it will create a citation for you. Again, when you copy and paste it into your own document, make sure you get the font matching, but also make sure you have a hanging indent Make sure you have your citation double spaced, all that kind of stuff. It should end with a period, for example, too. So there's just a lot of little teeny, things to futz around with. And so that's why, like, to the extent that you're able to use a citation generator site or use the cite button within the databases, you probably be happy that you'll do that, because if you end up compiling the citation all by yourself, it's a whole lot of like, what goes first, what goes second, do I need this information, do I not? So basically, use at least one outside source, please. You may use two if you want to. Any source you use should be listed at the end on a works cited or a works cited. And any place that you use anything from a source in the body or within the text of your paper, you want to make sure that you're giving a citation there as well, so we readers can see in the paper, like, oh yeah, this is from a source. So if it's a paraphrase, it wouldn't have any quotation marks around it, but still, you can't steal someone else's ideas or thoughts or concepts. So even if you're paraphrasing and putting it into your own words, you still have to give credit to the source, okay? Or else you can try handling a quotation, like I have here in this example. And one last thing, if you end up choosing a really long quotation, one that's 4 lines in length or longer, you will have to do something called a block quotation. And rather than me go through all that right here, right now, Google MLA block quotation, and it will kind of show you how you like set up the block quotation. Okay, we'll talk about it more in class too, but just for those of you who can't be there, or where you just know when you're at home, you're going to need a little help. I hope you made it through all my long talking. I'm sorry, I thought I'd be short. I can never be short. All right, I'll see you. Bye.